This is one of those when I feel fully ready to come here and bring a lot of energy, and then I prepare myself and I come here and I have my glass of tea, cup of tea, and I have things to tell you and I just can't wait to come here. And then I come here, I turn on the camera, and there is peace and silence. I don't mind. Hi and welcome to my multidimensional living room. This is a space where you land so we can co-create this painting here, and we can talk about life in multidimensional terms. I'm going to be painting energies, and if something speaks to you, if it finds you in the right place at the right time and helps you connect the dots, then that's great. And if it doesn't, then it might be for or from somebody else. So thank you for holding space. Please use your discernment and use your intuition at any given moment in time. I previously have been, before I started painting, on this channel, I've been making what I would call Tetris videos, which would be just videos of me talking about visions that I have in my head without painting them. But this painting I feel is going to be kind of Tetris-ish. And what I mean by Tetris is all these things that I paint and energies that I paint and things that I talk about, I see them as little Tetris pieces, you know, this like this or like that. Yeah, I don't have them right now here. I have the whole Tetris set somewhere, but not right here right now. Yeah, and then it's kind of like I give them to you, and then maybe they fit into your story in your life where you are right now. Maybe you have to tweak them, you know, like when you play Tetris, you have to put them somehow, you have to rotate them to see where they fit and how they fit. And maybe they fit and maybe they don't. And sometimes it even happens that, you know, it kind of fits, but you kind of displace it a little bit, so you kind of have to keep playing and build another layer so that it kind of integrates itself. So I think that's a really good analogy for some of the things that, you know, might be aimed to fit you, but then you realize that they kind of do, but not really 100%. Well, you then have to tweak them and keep going through life until you collect enough data so that maybe they fit later and maybe don't, because maybe they are for you, maybe they are not. And I feel like this painting is going to be kind of like that, because in the last one, the loop, if you remember at the end, there were some things that I wanted to bring into the painting that were coming up, but they kind of didn't fit into the timing of the painting, because otherwise it would be too long. So I'm gonna bring them into this one. So in other words, this painting is a continuation of the last one. Lens. I don't know, usually lenses are not moving when I'm painting. I don't know what's wrong this time. So, what actually is a leftover of the last painting is that my younger self came and reminded me of certain things, and one of the things that she reminded me of was this ability to go out in a public space, for example at a party, that's where she came from, and every time when she would go on a party, she would start by having a puzzle in her head. There was always something going on in her life. Some people would call it drama. I wouldn't call it drama. I would just say there was always something to resolve. There was always something to figure out. There was always something to go through. And she found pleasure in going to a party and spending time on a dance floor calculating in her head. And every party would start with, in a way that she would determine what's the problem and determine what type of a solution she would like to get. And then everything in between would, or like this path in between from problem to solution, would be kind of lived through the clubbing experience. So eventually, sooner or later, sometimes later rather than sooner, the outside of her reality would kind of turn into what's happening inside of her. So everything that would be happening inside of her would be externalized. So if there would be some kind of a conflict happening within her, she would be able to externalize it through a conversation with somebody else who might have exactly the same problem. Things like this. Or there would be some sort of like an energy release that would be necessary in order for her to eventually come to the solution. And while this energy release would be happening, it would seemingly be, how to say that, unrelated. So something would show up and it would be like, that's so random, but then at the end of the day, when she would come home and see the whole experience from the outside, she would see that actually it was all supposed to happen. And so she came to remind me of the significance of living in that way. I know that not many people are having this tactic. People who go to plant medicine ceremonies, they know this kind of mechanics. It's like you go there, you set an intention, and then you go through the ceremony, and then you can see, at least from your point of view, how the entire ceremony actually happened based on your intention. Even if it didn't seemingly, a few days later, months, weeks, years, when you look back, you see that actually you got what you asked for. So for some reason, she brought this up, which might be something that you are practicing as well. Or it might be something that I'm bringing into your awareness. This kind of living where any problem or situation that you might want to resolve, you might want to resolve it in this way, that you go in a space where there is a lot of people. It doesn't need to be a party. It can be a workplace, it can be family gathering, it can be some gathering around the fire, it can be anything really, where you go in a large amount of people and you spend there enough time, I would say like at least 5 hours, like give it time, give it space, so that everything kind of it plays itself out, so that you can experience your own subconscious mind being played out by people in your surroundings, where they don't even need to know what's happening in your head. It doesn't have to be a controlled environment, like a family constellations, for example. Like that's one example of how this works out. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. Like one of my colleagues used to work that. I mean, I used to function this way as well too in workplace. Hold on. So even in workplace, that kind of works. So you just set yourself, like, be very clear about what is it that you are bringing to the table. You don't have to say anything to anybody, and just go through the day and see how the people and energies around you move and mold themselves to fit into what's going on inside of you, and inform you about the possible solution that you're moving towards. And there will be, inevitably, things that seem so random and so out of the script, they're actually part of the experience, because they kind of trigger you to step into another notch of yourself. Maybe you need to become a little bit more responsible for a moment, a little bit more than you are used to, or you need to get scared, or you need to cry, or you need to get super excited about something, just to move the energy inside of your body. And it might seem, as I said, unrelated and very random, but it's there for the ultimate solution. And then you come to the blank page again. Maybe a sense of relief. When you resolve something like this, there's always like sense of relief. But other than relief, there is also a sense of unity. Yeah. You touch that interconnectedness that is among all of us. Like when you strip down all the conflicting narratives that are happening in our minds, that are kind of given to us freely through all kind of media and social media and whatever. It's like you versus me kind of narratives of all possible kinds. Like when you strip all of that, you come to this white page. I know, like right now I feel like I'm just growing it. Let's add some blue. Yeah, that's how it felt like when I just entered this space today. That's the energy that I found today when I sat here and turned on a camera and then sat here. Yeah. Oh, I see, it's not gonna work that way. Oh, that's so handy. Yeah, right. Another thing that my younger self also brought up, and that was fun for me. Like, this wasn't really for you, but I'm going to share it with you. She brought it to me to ask me. So she told me, imagine yourself like a game character. You know, like in games, characters are having like some sort of qualities, and then each quality has a bar with the percentage of how strong are they in that quality. So they have their strength and their resilience, or their stamina, or their intelligence, or confidence, or beauty, or whatever they have as their strengths. And then she told me to define myself in 5 of them and put the bar to some level, and then try to raise the bar at just one quality, just one. Like if something is on 75%, put it to 100. And then she asked me, how would your life look like if you would just increase one of the bars of your strengths? Not all of them, just one. And then I started thinking about it. And I did actually get ideas of how life would be playing out completely differently if some things would be adjusted differently. And then I started playing with other, and I started getting more and more ideas into more and more possibilities of what life would be, to the point where it doesn't even look like my life. If some of the things would be predominantly representing strengths rather than some other things. And so I'm sharing this with you to, if you feel like playing like this, to define yourself in the same way, like a game character. Choose 5 strengths and choose the percentage of from 0 to 100, how strong those strengths are for you. And see how your life would change, what kind of visions pop into your head if you would just move one of them. And then another one. And then all of them, if that speaks to you, if that's not a little bit too overwhelming. If you hear some noise, those are my animals in a corner. And now, after I have brought this leftover of the past painting here, now I feel like I can actually connect with this energy of the white blank. It's not blank, it's just white space. And see what actually comes out here through that paint. There's an experience that I had a couple of weeks ago, which I wasn't ready to share. I wanted to share it with you, but I wasn't ready because it had to play itself out fully before I'm ready to talk about it. And now as I just did that and the color dispersed itself, it really did match well with my readiness to talk about it. So they are usually never so loud. Anyway, a couple of weeks ago, I've encountered somebody, and there are these people among us who have very open energy field. It's like when you see them, even if they just pass next to you on the street, you can pick up the energy that they're carrying easy, like open book kind of a thing. And so that was the case with somebody that I encountered. There was this vision that came to me immediately as I saw them, and it was the vision of our shared meditation. I have never meditated with that person before, but there was this feeling as if that was a memory that we did meditate before together, or equally so that we could meditate together, or that I want to meditate together, or that we should meditate together. It was as if a space opened up in our shared physical space in which we meditate together. And that was a felt sense that I picked up on, that we share meditation together. And it was a very brief encounter, but the sense remained with me. So I lived with that sense throughout the day. It was actually quite late afternoon that day when that happened. And that sense remained with me even before I went to bed. So when I went to bed with the feeling that I am meditating with somebody else. And then I went to sleep and I woke up the next day. I had a dream about something which was quite unrelated, but when I went back into this physical reality, I woke up with the same feeling that I went to sleep with, which was that I'm meditating with that person. And I had a very clear vision of me sitting cross-legged in front of that person, meditating, breathing in, breathing out, focusing on the breath, and sensing how the energy moves within me and how it corresponds with the energy of another person. We didn't talk, there was no dialogue, everything was just observing of energy movement. And I got up, I didn't meditate, I had a coffee, I did my dishes, I went to the supermarket, I bought a fish, I cooked fish. Yeah, I remember that I was choosing socks to wear for going to supermarket, and I cooked that fish. I complained about how fish doesn't smell so pleasant in the apartment, so I opened the windows and then I ate fish. And while I was eating fish, I was looking at a YouTube video with headphones on, and then I noticed how that YouTube video that I was listening to, usually it would be a forefront experience. Like eating would be a forefront experience, watching the YouTube video would be a forefront experience, having headphones that would speak words into my ears directly would be a forefront experience. But that day was kind of like all my physical experience, everything that I just walked through was kind of like when you're watching a film on your computer and the film is in the background and you open another browser and you put it in a corner down there and you go through social media or you answer emails or you do something. I feel like I need them at this moment. And so you're doing something in the corner, and so you might be like playing games or going through social media or answering emails or doing business or whatever, but there is a film happening in the background. That's how my physical experience felt to be in that moment. Not in that moment, but that day. That's the moment when I realized that that's how it's happening, because I felt like I'm predominantly meditating. I have experienced short disconnection from my heart while doing this. And then the state where I ended up being feels kind of like this. It's like a peace sign. It's like a part of my attention went to my animals and wondering, why are they so loud? I have a spider and worms over there. And here I have my experience that I'm processing, and here I have this You know what just happened when I took off the glasses? I don't know if you people who wear glasses, can you relate to this? But I just started wearing them recently and I actually don't need them, but my eyes do get tired from all these lights and screens. I notice that when I'm wearing glasses that I feel like I'm packed into humanness, and as soon as I take off the glasses I feel like I'm in a landscape, in context, in a living space. And my feeling of everything kind of changes whether I do have or don't have glasses. I like having them, but I also feel like there is something that kind of blocks my full vision when I have them. I don't know if you can relate to that. Anyway, let me go back into this. This is literally happening right now. Like the reason why I'm bringing this is literally what's happening right now. The question is like, where is your sense of self? Because there was this one part of me who was meditating and was very present in a moment in that meditation with every single breath that was going on through my physical body. And that meditation was happening somewhere. I had a feeling like it was in some small Japanese house. We were sitting on the floor and I could see, yeah, exactly, the energy moving. And the energy that I was seeing there was predominantly blue, not black. Which makes sense why I chose blue here. And I was predominantly there. And from that vantage point, it felt that my physical human experience of going to the supermarket, choosing socks, buying a fish, cooking fish, all of that was just kind of like something that I dreamed about. And I was simultaneously in my physical human body going through everything that I went through, and somewhere else as a non-physical being meditating and sharing that experience with somebody else. And when I wanted to bring this into the painting, the next day, of course, I was asked, but where's your sense of self? Like, who is telling that story? Is it you who's meditating, dreaming your physical experience into being? Or is it your physical self who goes into the supermarket dreaming about meditating in some small Japanese house? And while this experience was happening and while I was relationally in time close to that experience, okay, camera stopped recording. In the moment when I was explaining how I was actually feeling like I am that film that is playing in the background, while in the forefront you have this like minimized window where you do all your physical stuff. But that was undeniably then when this experience was active. And the reason why I couldn't bring it into this space ever earlier is because I had to go through experiences that would be on both sides of the spectrum, where my higher self asked me again, where is your sense of self? So I recently watched a film, actually films, What Dreams May Come and The Ghost. Both films I watched one after one another because they kind of go hand in hand together. And both films are kind of delivering this to you quite straightforward. You are not your physical body. Your physical body dies and rots and disappears eventually. But what remains is the non-physical aspect of you. So when I was watching those two films, I didn't feel like I'm watching some magical, non-existent entertainment product. I felt it quite blue here in arms. It was very calming to watch those films because I didn't feel like I'm watching some magic that doesn't exist. It felt like that's a normal life experience for me. Both of those films. So while I was watching those films, the question, where is your sense of self, was inevitably, undeniably there in the non-physicality. And then there was also experience of being fully bound to the earth. There were hours of experience where I noticed that there is no magic in the air. I was keeping my eyes open and looking around and trying to remind myself I'm a non-physical being. I didn't really say that to myself, but I was stressed. And when I was stressed, it felt very earthbound. It felt like there is nothing but soil, and it was this kind of a situation where it felt like I have no choice. And in these moments of stress, where I was really stressed about something came into my awareness and asked me, where is your sense of self? And I remembered this whole experience, and from being so earthbound and feeling like life is hard and I have to go through this and I have no choice but to go through this, and it's not fair, but I gotta do it. I remember this whole experience, and it felt like a memory. It felt like something that I wish to be true. Something that I prefer it to be true, and I kind of know that it is true, but I can't live it right now. Because I was stuck in this humanness, in the earthliness of this experience. And a part of me was from above watching myself kind of indulging in being a human and just experiencing the limits of human experience, knowing that they are see-throughable and transcendable and walk-aroundable, but my human self just liked being there just for the sake of being a human, and she liked it there. Yeah. Not for long, because she cannot remain there without being aware that she can also see herself being aware. But that was the other polarity of this experience, where I had to ask myself, where is your sense of self? And then I also, from those questions, also entered the field of, it's not just where is your sense of self, because that can always change like a Rubik's Cube. But what's your relationship with your sense of self? Especially when you think it should be up there in the non-physical realm, but then you find yourself indulging in being a human and being afraid and feeling like you have no choice. Well, you do. What's your relationship with that? With that placement of yourself? So those are then my questions for you. How do you relate to that? And have you had similar experiences to this? And speaking of what dreams may come, I really indulged in those scenes of heaven or paradise being made out of paint, and flowers being made out of paint, and all this, like, just living in a painting. I never really thought that would be my idea of a paradise, but it actually would be. It actually is. I had this like really strange feeling of watching the film and part of me was kind of like, wow, that's like being an artist and working with paint is such a mesmerizing experience. I wish I have it. But then remembering I do have it. And then I want to ask you, what is your idea of a paradise? I really didn't mean to make it, but this little creature here now reminds me of the flying angels from the movie. And I find it fascinating in the film how when they die and when they enter the heaven, they change their physical appearances just so that they can remove their roles that they have assigned to each other, so that they can strip themselves from being a daughter, being a father, brother, or teacher. Because those roles are stepping in a way of our souls seeing ourselves in each other for who we actually are. And there is so much of human imposed stuff that is here in the earthly realm that is standing in a way of us seeing who we truly are to each other. When the painting is over, I wonder if you're gonna see what I see. Because not just that I see flying angels, which is in relation to the film that I'm talking about, but I'm seeing also a sphinx on a flying carpet. And balanced stones. And man thinking, and somebody blowing a bubble gum in the face of somebody who seems to be very emperor-like. And songs going through the air. And the reminder that if something has already been done, then don't go back into it. Is it? Whoa! because you will get way much more if you don't go back. Okay, because I was about to take the black from here, but then I feel like I ruined the image by taking it, and then I had to welcome the new. Now I'm hearing I let go of the good in order to welcome the great. Wow, that's really cool. Okay, I'm seeing a fashionable figure with like a really something extraordinary to wear, like a really big white pair of pants, and there is a head coming from in between legs, and it's just like this whole figure is giving birth, while there is a spirit of it on one side singing a song that goes through. And this new head also that is starting to come out from this body is also singing a song, and the head of this whole body is also singing a song. So that's really cool. And the whole picture is also singing a song. Okay, cool. I'm gonna leave it here. Yeah, also, by the way, I wanted to say this t-shirt that I'm wearing today, I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago, I don't remember, and I stopped counting because it's been so long. I've met a person who is behind this record label who made this t-shirt. And this t-shirt was supposed to come to me 2 or 3 years ago, but somewhere in the meantime it was lost on the planet. I don't know where it was, like somewhere I don't know, it tried to reach me, but apparently the post didn't really find me, so it got returned and then it got back, and it was like almost 2 or 3 years long experience of me getting this t-shirt. And yesterday I finally found it in my post box, not post office. And not just that, I also found a poem that a friend of mine who lives just in another neighborhood here sent to me per post. I told her, you don't have to send it, I can come pick it up. She said, no, I'll send it. And I found it yesterday together with this t-shirt. And that was a really, really beautiful experience. It was a beautiful experience to open the mailbox and find items that are packed for you and signed to you with hand. Not printed labels. There were printed labels, of course, but there was also that effort that somebody did put by writing names with hand. And to receive something personal among commercials and bills and letters that are just purely administrative felt really, really good. It was a really beautiful experience, and it really made my day, and I was really very happy to receive something that came from somebody else and was packed for me. And it's traveled 3 times around the globe, I guess, until it found me, but it did find me eventually. It was a really beautiful experience. And all these paintings that I create in this living room, I can also send per post to you. Not just so that you can have a pleasure of having my paintings in your living room, which is quite an extraordinary experience, I can tell you, but also that you can have this quite an extraordinary experience of opening it and receiving it in your, I don't know if the whole roll would fit into a post box, but maybe you have a big one. But that experience of getting something that is personally packed for you and sent from a person to a person, rather than something that is managed by a big company and printed labels, is available for you. And I'm going to leave the link of this painting, and all other paintings are going to be in pinned comment down. Now I feel like I miss my glasses. Yeah. So if you want your own personal painting, the link is also down below in the description box. I need to have a cup of tea. I really like this painting. I really like how it feels. Yeah. Kind of makes me want to dive into the painting, into the paint. It feels heavenly. Because maybe that's where our sense of self is. Or should be. Thank you so very much for being here.